Hello and very warm welcome to the Canada News with your host Divya. Now let's take a look on the headlines. Canadian Finance Minister Christine Freeland highlight budget aspects. Canada's Chief Medical Officer Dr. Theresa Tam said there were 1.2 million COVID cases in the country. British Columbia Public Safety Minister says restrictions have been imposed. Now news in detail. Canadian Finance Minister Christine Freeland continues to highlight budget aspects, saying the budget will create 5 lakh jobs and provide families with better chiropractic care for 5 years at a rate of 10 a day. According to the minister, 595 million will be provided under the Canada Recovery Hiring Program to hire new workers. In addition, 400 billion will be spent on connecting business with new technology.
Fully enacted, this budget will create, in total, nearly 500,000 new training and work opportunities for Canadians. We're making a historic commitment to early learning and childcare. $30 billion over 5 years, reaching $9.2 billion every year in permanent investments. Within 5 years, families everywhere across Canada should have access to high-quality childcare for an average of $10 a day. This budget invests $5.7 billion over 5 years in Canada's young people, doubling the Canada Student Grant for 2 additional years and extending the waiver of interest payments on federal student loans through March of 2023. More than 350,000 low-income student borrowers will have access to more generous repayment assistance. To help small businesses recover and grow, this budget contains a new Canada Recovery Hiring Program that will run from June to November and provide up to $595 million to make it easier for businesses to bring back laid-off workers or to hire new ones. We will also invest up to $4 billion to help up to 160,000 small and medium-sized businesses buy and adopt the new technologies they need to grow and become more productive and more competitive. And we'll encourage businesses to invest in themselves by allowing for immediate expensing of up to $1.5 million of eligible investments by Canadian-controlled private corporations in each of the next 3 years.
Canada's Chief Medical Officer Dr. Theresa Tam said there were 1.2 million COVID cases in the country, with 24,169 deaths from the disease. The number is increasing, who reported that 4,400 patients are hospitalized daily and 1,420 are treated in the ICU.
To date, over 1.2 million cases of COVID-19, including 24,169 deaths, have been reported in Canada. We are making progress nationally, but there are still a few tricky spots. Daily case counts have declined by 7% over the past week to an average of below 7,900 cases. Unfortunately, the number of people experiencing severe and critical illness continues to rise. Over the past week, an average of almost 4,400 people with COVID-19 were being treated in our hospitals each day, including over 1,420 people being treated in intensive care units. At the same time, an average of 50 deaths were reported daily. Variants of concern now represent a majority of reported COVID-19 cases, with the B.1.1.7 variant accounting for over 95% of variants sequenced to date. Taking a moment to acknowledge the important work that doctors are doing across Canada and around the world, we're reminded that the statistics we report daily are not just numbers. People who have been infected, those who have become seriously ill, and the families who have mourned a loss have all relied on physicians across the health system to care for and support them. Beyond this, physicians, like others across the healthcare workforce, have continued to provide care under some of the most difficult circumstances imaginable. Some are working tirelessly to provide direct treatment for patients. Others are working despite the challenges of COVID-19 in order to maintain the best level of care for patients in all areas, from emergency medicine to mental health, management of chronic diseases and prevention programs, including immunization.
British Columbia Public Safety Minister says restrictions have been imposed to restrict non-essential travel checkpoints will be set up on highways where police can ask for reasons, addresses and driving license to travel, but to prove travel, no documentation required. Restrictions on road inspections will remain in effect until May 25, 2021.
Last Friday, on the advice of Dr. Bonnie Henry, I announced that we have created an order under the Emergency Program Act to prohibit non-essential travel within British Columbia until 12:01 on May 25th. That means you need to stay within your regional zone for the next several weeks. These defined regions are the combined Fraser and Vancouver Coastal Health Authority regions, the combined Northern and Interior Health Authority regions, and the Vancouver Island Health Authority. Those traveling for essential reasons, such as, but not limited to, moving to a new residence, going to work, receiving or assisting someone to receive healthcare services, and traveling for emergencies, will not be impacted by these restrictions. And in addition to the previous order, we've added 2 new reasons for essential travel. First, for the purpose of avoiding the risk of abuse or violence, and second, to expand who can visit to long-term care and assisted living facilities to include social visits, in addition to essential visitors. A full list of reasons for essential travel can be found in the news release and on our website. Now, I would like to take a moment to recognize and thank the vast majority of British Columbians who are doing their part. In particular, I want to thank BC Ferries, hotels, and all of our partners in the tourism sector for working closely with us to help their visitors cancel or rebook their reservations. And to the RCMP and all law enforcement for their contributions and hard work on the front line during this pandemic. And I'm happy to say we're beginning to see impacts of the travel restrictions that we put in place last Friday. We're hearing from communities that this has already had an impact.
The province says every Ontario education worker will be eligible for the COVID vaccination next week. Ontario Education Minister Stephen Leake said in a statement on the vaccine eligibility of education and childcare workers that Ontario education and childcare staff left no stone unturned to help students and working parents in this time of crisis. He said to ensure the safety of all education workers across the province, appointments for the COVID vaccine will be made in the week of May 3, with the education staff ready for vaccination from next week and licensed childcare settings now. We will do our best to defeat this epidemic with a more stable supply. Frontline workers working in our schools and childcare settings can be vaccinated, he said. We are very grateful to them for their hard work and dedication. The Ottawa-based advocacy group awarded its Spencer Murray Award for Lifetime Achievement to Bolin in recognition of her long-term work in the pursuit of press freedom. Bolin, an award-winning investigative reporter, has covered and uncovered countless stories on organized crime and gang slayings during her 37-year career at the Vancouver Sun. Her coverage of the 1985 Air India bombing led to threats on her life, and she was placed under police protection. She was honored with the inaugural World Press Freedom Award in 1999 for continuing to investigate the bombing award after threats of violence, and she is still at it. While covering a murder trial in 2017, she learned she had been the subject of a murder plot and promptly reported on it. A rodeo near the community of Borden drew hundreds of people this weekend, despite the province recording a record number of new COVID-19 cases. The event was called No More Lockdown Rodeo Rally. Alberta Health Services sent a letter to organizers indicating the event will be illegal, and in a statement expressed disappointment with the decision to proceed. It said it is disappointing that the organizers ignored this information and went ahead and their event knowing it was a clear breach of the current public health restrictions. The Ontario government announced that adults in the Ontario hotspots who are 18 or older can book their vaccine for COVID-19 starting on Monday, May 3 at 8 a.m. This includes those who will be turning 18 in 2021. The provisional government said that eligible residents can book via the province booking system online or public health units. Deputy Premier and Minister of Health Christine Elliott said in a media release, with additional supply, our government is increasing access to COVID-19 vaccines in the communities hardest hit by COVID-19. A 19-year-old man from Calicia is dead after his motocross motorcycle collided with a sport utility vehicle in western Quebec this weekend. The crash happened on Quebec du Lac Saint-Lucer in the municipality, said MRC des Collines police. The man was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The Otanias police force said the cause of crash is still under the investigations. The man name has not been released. Montreal Port Workers Union took part in the May Day march after the federal government adopted legislation forces the union to end their strike. More than 2,000 people were at the International Workers' Day march, which began at the Lafonia Park. A Montreal police spokesperson said the march was peaceful. We are happy to walk with our brothers and sisters on this International Workers' Day despite the fact that it is a very sad day for the union members across the country. The union has already announced that it will challenge the legislation in the court and that it has already filed a complaint with the International Labour Organization. The union argues the legislation violates their constitutional rights. The British Columbia Liberal MLA started feeling symptoms soon after receiving the first dose of a vaccine. He is the first British Columbia MLA to publicly report he has tested positive for COVID-19. His wife has also contracted the virus. They are currently isolating in their home in Dawson Creek. Banier wrote on his Facebook page, "We all are presently self-isolating and currently everyone is doing well. This came as a shock to all of us. We have been following all the public health guidelines such as physical distancing, wearing masks and avoiding indoor gatherings." Bernier says he will be spending time with family as he works towards recovering from the virus. A former Metro Vancouver tour operator has been sentenced in the US to 1 year jail for operating a sport ticket scam, including for the World Cup soccer matches. According to the US Attorney Office, Joseph, who has dual citizenship in Canada and Malta, was sentenced April 20 after pleading guilty to wire fraud for operating a long-term fraudulent ticket scam targeting New Orleans residents in 1999 for Vancouver area soccer fans, Stuttgart and Vancouver-based classic sport tours after paying $500 million for a vacation to the 1998 World Cup in France. So that's all we have in this edition. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updated news.